Maya's alarm went off at 5 in the morning like it did every day. She reached over and silenced it, then lay there for a moment in her tiny apartment staring at the ceiling. Another double shift at the hospital. Another day of saving lives while barely making enough to pay off her nursing school loans. But she loved it. She really did. At 28, Maya had learned to find joy in the small things, a patient smile when they finally got to go home. The coffee from the machine on the third floor that was slightly better than the one on the second. The satisfaction of knowing she made a difference, even if nobody was taking pictures of it for social media. That was more her sister's thing. Isabella Chen was everything Maya wasn't. At 32, she had built an empire out of posting pictures of her perfect life online. Designer clothes, fancy restaurants, exotic vacations. And now the crowning achievement. She was engaged to Daniel Brooks, one of the youngest tech millionaires in the country. Maya had met Daniel exactly 3 times. Twice at family dinners where he seemed polite but distant, and once at Isabella's birthday party, where he spent most of the evening on his phone dealing with some business crisis. He seemed nice enough, but Maya couldn't help wondering if he was just another accessory in her sister's carefully curated life. The wedding was in 2 weeks. Isabella had been planning it for 8 months. Everything had to be perfect. The venue, the flowers, the dress that cost more than Maya made in 6 months. Their mother kept calling Maya, asking if she'd taken time off work to help with last-minute details. "I'm a nurse, Mom," Maya had said gently. "I can't just leave when people need me." "Well, your sister needs you too," her mother had replied, hurt in her voice. Maya sighed, pushing those thoughts away as she got ready for work. Family drama could wait. She had patients who actually needed her. The call came during her lunch break. "Maya?" Isabella's voice was shaking. Something terrible happened. Maya's heart dropped. What's wrong?" "It's Daniel. There was an accident. A car accident. He's in a coma." The sandwich Maya had been eating turned to dust in her mouth. "Where are you?" "St. Catherine's Hospital." "The ICU, can you come, please?" Maya was already grabbing her bag. St. Catherine's was across town, but she'd make it. "I'm on my way." 20 minutes. She found Isabella in the ICU waiting room, surrounded by what looked like Daniel's friends and business associates. Her sister's makeup was smeared, her designer outfit wrinkled. Maya had never seen Isabella look so broken. "Tell me what happened," Maya said, pulling her sister into a quiet corner. Isabella's words came out in broken pieces. Daniel had been driving back from a meeting. A truck ran a red light. His car flipped 3 times. The doctor said he was lucky to be alive, but his brain had swelled. They'd induced a coma to help him heal, but they didn't know when or if he'd wake up. "They said 30%, Isabella whispered. 30% chance he'll recover." Maya held her sister while she cried. She wanted to say something comforting, something hopeful, but she was a nurse. She knew what those numbers meant. Over the next few days, Maya found herself at the hospital more and more. She'd finish her shift at City General, then drive across town to sit with Isabella. But as the days passed, she noticed something that made her stomach twist. Isabella was barely staying in the room with Daniel. At first, Maya understood. It was traumatic. Seeing someone you love hooked up to machines, unresponsive, not knowing if they'd ever wake up. That kind of helplessness could break anyone. But then she started noticing other things. Isabella checking her phone constantly, taking calls from photographers about postponing the wedding photos, crying more about the canceled venue deposits than about Daniel's condition. 1 week after the accident, Maya arrived to find Isabella in the hallway, arguing with someone on the phone. "No, I can't do a sponsored post right now. My fiancé is in a coma." "How would that look?" A pause. "Yes, I know I'm losing followers." "I don't care about that right now." But her tone suggested she did care. Very much. Maya slipped past her and into Daniel's room. The machines beeped steadily. She'd read his chart earlier, no change. His brain activity was stable but minimal. The swelling had gone down, which was good, but he wasn't showing signs of waking up. She sat in the chair next to his bed. "Hey, Daniel," she said softly. She felt silly talking to an unconscious man, but she'd seen enough coma patients to know that sometimes they could hear. "I'm Maya, Isabella's sister. I don't know if you remember me." "We've only met a few times." She paused, looking at his face. Without all the stress and business concerns, he looked younger, peaceful. There was a scar on his eyebrow she'd never noticed before. My sister's having a hard time with this, Maya continued. I know she loves you. She's not good with things she can't control. None of this was supposed to happen. You were supposed to get married in a week. On impulse, Maya picked up the book that was sitting on the side table. Someone had left it there. Maybe one of his friends. It was worn, clearly read many times. She opened it to a random page and started reading aloud. She didn't know why she did it. Maybe because the silence felt too heavy. Maybe because she needed to do something, anything to help. This became her routine. Every evening after her shift, Maya would stop by. Sometimes Isabella was there, sometimes she wasn't. But Maya always stayed for at least an hour. She'd read to Daniel, tell him about her day, update him on the news. The nurses started to recognize her, giving her sympathetic smiles. 2 weeks after the accident, Maya arrived to find Daniel's room empty, except for him. No Isabella. No friends. No one. She found her sister in the cafeteria staring at a cup of coffee. Where have you been? Maya asked, trying to keep the judgment out of her voice. I can't do this anymore, Isabella said. Her voice was flat, empty. I can't sit in that room and watch him just lie there. Day after day, not knowing if he'll ever wake up. Isabella, you don't understand. Isabella looked up at her, and Maya saw something that shocked her. Relief. Her sister looked relieved. I fell in love with his life, Maya, the parties, the travel, the excitement. I never really knew him. The real him. And now he might never wake up, and I'm supposed to just wait forever? Put my whole life on hold? Maya felt cold. He's fighting for his life. I know. And that makes me a terrible person, doesn't it? Isabella laughed, but it was bitter. I'm 28 years old, Maya. I was supposed to be a millionaire's wife. Instead, I'm sitting in a hospital watching machines breathe for him. You're 32, Maya corrected quietly. See? That's how messed up my head is right now. Isabella pushed the coffee away. I'm leaving. I'm giving the ring back to his lawyer. I can't do this. I'm sorry, but I can't. Maya watched her sister walk away, and something inside her shifted. She thought about Daniel lying alone in that room. Abandoned. Nobody deserved that. She went back to his room. The machines beeped. His chest rose and fell with the ventilator's rhythm. Your fiancé left, Maya said softly, sitting down. I'm sorry. I know that's probably not what you want to hear, wherever you are right now, but I'm not leaving. Okay, someone should be here. Someone should make sure you know you're not alone. She picked up his journal that she'd found in his belongings. The nurses had said she could look at it, that maybe reading his own words to him would help. She opened to the first page. If you're reading this, something has probably happened to me, it began. I hope whoever finds this knows that I lived exactly the way I wanted to. Maya started reading, and with each page, she discovered someone completely different from the man she thought she knew. Not the distant millionaire from family dinners, but someone thoughtful, kind, someone who cared about making the world better, not just making money. As she read his words, she realized something terrifying. She was starting to care about this stranger. Really care. And she had no idea that in just a few days, she'd be making a choice that would change both their lives forever. 3 weeks had passed since the accident, and Maya had settled into a strange new routine. Work her shift, visit Daniel, read to him, go home, repeat. Her friends asked if she was okay, told her she seemed distant. How could she explain? She was spending her evenings with a man in a coma, a man who was supposed to marry her sister, and somehow she felt more connected to him than she had to anyone in years. She'd finished his journal and started reading him books from his apartment that his assistant had brought. Classic novels, philosophy, poetry. Each one gave her another piece of who Daniel really was. The nurses had started calling her the wife as a joke, not knowing how that word made her heart twist in strange ways. On a Tuesday evening, Maya was reading to Daniel when Dr. Patricia Chen walked in. Not just any doctor. The head of neurology. Maya sat up straighter. Ms. Brooks? Dr. Chen said, then caught herself. I'm sorry. Maya, right? You're the sister? Yes, is everything okay? Dr. Chen pulled up a chair and Maya's stomach dropped. Doctors only sat down when the news was bad. Daniel's scans came back. His brain swelling has decreased significantly, which is good news. But we're seeing some concerning patterns. Without intervention, his chances of recovery are dropping. We need to act soon. What kind of intervention? Maya asked. There's an experimental procedure being done in Switzerland. It's had remarkable success with cases like Daniel's. 80% recovery rate for patients in his condition. Dr. Chen paused. But it's expensive. Very expensive. And it needs to happen within 2 weeks or the window closes, Maya's mind raced. How expensive? $2 million. His insurance won't cover experimental procedures. We've been trying to access his trust fund, but there's a legal complication. Before Maya could ask what that meant, someone knocked on the door. A man in an expensive suit walked in, carrying a leather briefcase. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. Maya Brooks? He asked. I'm Thomas Reed. I'm Daniel's attorney. Maya shook his hand, confused. Why are you here? Because we have a serious problem, Thomas said, glancing at Dr. Chen. And I think you might be the only person who can help. They moved to a private conference room. Thomas laid out papers on the table, and Maya's head started spinning as he explained. Daniel's father had died 5 years ago. Before his death, he'd set up a complex trust fund for Daniel. Millions of dollars. But there was a clause. A specific bizarre clause that nobody had paid much attention to until now. Daniel's father was old-fashioned, Thomas said carefully. He didn't approve of Daniel's lifestyle. The traveling. The different relationships. He wanted Daniel to settle down. So he put this requirement in the trust. In case of incapacitation, the funds can only be accessed by a legal spouse. Maya stared at him. That's insane. It's unusual, yes, but it's legal and binding. Thomas rubbed his face. Daniel's father thought it would force him to get married. He never imagined something like this would happen. What about Isabella? They were engaged. Engagement doesn't count. The trust specifies legal marriage only. Thomas looked at her directly. Without access to those funds, Daniel can't get the surgery. And without the surgery, Dr. Chen gives him less than 20% chance of meaningful recovery. The words hung in the air. Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. There has to be another way, she said. Loans, fundraising, something. We've explored everything. Daniel's liquid assets are minimal. Most of his wealth is tied up in investments and this trust. We could try to fight the trust in court, but that would take months. Daniel doesn't have months. Maya stood up, pacing. Why are you telling me this? Thomas exchanged a look with Dr. Chen. Because Isabella left. Daniel's parents are dead. He has no siblings. His closest friends are business associates who care about him, but not enough to take on something like this. He paused. But you're here. Every single day. The nurses tell me you spend hours with him. You read to him. You talk to him like he's a person, not just a patient. Because he is a person, Maya said quietly. Exactly. Thomas pulled out another document. I'm going to say something that sounds absolutely crazy, and you have every right to think I've lost my mind. But I don't know what else to do. Maya waited, her heart pounding. Marry him, Thomas said. Marry Daniel. Access the trust. Get him the surgery. Save his life. The room tilted. Maya grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. You can't be serious, she whispered. I've never been more serious about anything. Thomas's voice was urgent now. Look, I know how this sounds. I know how wrong it seems. But Daniel has a living will. It's very specific. He wrote, if something happens to me, do everything possible to save my life. I want to live. I want every chance. He can't consent to marriage. Maya's voice rose. He's unconscious. This is insane. It's unethical. It's wrong on every possible level. It's also the only way he survives, Dr. Chen said softly. Maya sank into a chair, her mind racing. She thought about Daniel lying in that hospital bed. About his journal entries where he wrote about wanting to make a difference. About his dreams of building schools in developing countries. About how he'd written, I hope I live long enough to do all the things I promised myself I'd do. I can't, Maya said. I'm sorry. I can't do this. She stood up and walked out, her hands shaking. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She stared at her ceiling, thinking about everything. She thought about Isabella, who'd walked away. About Daniel's father, who'd created this impossible situation. About the unfairness of it all. She thought about medical ethics, about consent, about what was right and wrong. But she also thought about Daniel's words. Do everything possible to save my life. At 3 in the morning, she got out of bed and opened her laptop. She started researching. Legal precedents, medical ethics cases, guardianship laws. The more she read, the more complicated it became. But one thing was clear. Without intervention, Daniel would likely never wake up. Or if he did, he'd be so severely impaired that the person he was would be gone. Maya called Thomas at 7 in the morning. I need promises, she said without greeting. Legal promises. In writing? Anything, Thomas said immediately. This is purely to save his life. Nothing else. When he wakes up, if he wakes up, we divorce immediately. I get nothing, no money. No claim to anything. This isn't about that. I'll draw up the papers. And if he wakes up and he's angry about this, if he feels violated or manipulated, I take full responsibility. I'll tell him it was my idea. Maya, those are my terms. Take them or leave them. There was a pause. Okay, yes, agreed. Maya took a shaky breath. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. Because someone has to fight for him. Because he deserves a chance to live. He's lucky you're the one who stayed, Thomas said quietly. No, Maya replied. I just hope I'm making the right choice. The wedding was scheduled for Friday. They had to move fast. The Swiss hospital needed confirmation of payment within 48 hours of the procedure. And the procedure itself needed to happen within 10 days. Maya told her mother she was working a special overnight shift. She told her supervisor she needed personal time. She didn't tell anyone the truth. How could she? Nobody would understand. On Friday afternoon, she put on a simple blue dress. Not white. White felt too much like lying. She met Thomas at the hospital where a judge was waiting in a private room. They wheeled Daniel in. He looked peaceful, the machines breathing for him. Maya stood next to his bed, her hand shaking as she held the papers. The judge was kind. She explained that this was unusual but legal, that she'd reviewed the documents, that both parties' interests were protected. Do you, Maya Brooks, take Daniel Brooks to be your lawfully wedded husband? Maya looked at Daniel. She thought about his journal, about his dreams, about the person he was underneath all the money and status. I do, she whispered. The judge turned to Daniel. There was a long pause. Then she said, Given Mr. Brooks's documented wishes and legal living will, and with the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. It was done. Just like that, Maya was married to a man in a coma. Thomas immediately started the paperwork to access the trust. The Swiss hospital was notified. Arrangements were made to transport Daniel. Maya sat alone with Daniel after everyone left. She held his hand. I hope you forgive me, she said. I hope when you wake up you understand why I did this. And I hope to God you do wake up, because I don't know if I can live with myself if you don't. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Daniel's hand was warm in hers. We're married now, she said, and laughed because it was so absurd. For better or worse, I guess. Though this is definitely worse, she squeezed his hand. Fight, Daniel. Fight to come back. Because I just risked everything to give you that chance. As she sat there in the quiet room, Maya realized there was no going back. She'd crossed a line. And whatever happened next, her life would never be the same. The flight to Switzerland was the longest 8 hours of Maya's life. She sat next to Daniel's medical transport bed, watching the monitors, making sure everything stayed stable. The medical team was professional and kind, but Maya felt completely alone. She was traveling to another country with a husband who didn't know she existed, a husband she'd married to save his life. She kept thinking about what she'd tell people when they asked where she went. Her supervisor thought she was dealing with a family emergency. Her mother thought she was on a work training. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody could know. The Swiss facility was unlike any hospital Maya had ever seen. It looked more like a luxury hotel than a medical center. Everything was pristine, quiet, efficient. The staff spoke multiple languages and moved with calm confidence. This was where rich people came when regular medicine couldn't help them. Dr. Klaus Werner, the surgeon who would perform Daniel's procedure, met with Maya the day they arrived. He was older, maybe 60, with gentle eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Mrs. Brooks, he said, and Maya flinched at the name. I've reviewed your husband's case extensively. The procedure is complex, but I believe we have an excellent chance of success. How excellent? Maya asked. 70 to 80% chance of significant improvement. But I must be honest.
Even with success, we don't know when he'll wake.
Could be days. Could be months. The brain heals on its own schedule. Maya nodded, trying to process this. When do we start? Tomorrow morning. The surgery will take approximately 14 hours. 14 hours. Maya felt sick. That night she sat with Daniel in his room. The Swiss facility had given him a private suite with a window overlooking the Alps. It was beautiful. Surreal. Everything about this situation was surreal. Big day tomorrow, she told him, holding his hand. She'd gotten comfortable talking to him now. It felt less strange. Dr. Werner seems really good. Everyone here seems to know what they're doing. She paused. I'm terrified. I hope you can't feel that. I hope wherever you are right now, you're peaceful, not scared. She pulled out the book she'd been reading to him and continued where she left off. Her voice filled the quiet room, mixing with the soft beeping of monitors. The surgery felt endless. Maya sat in the waiting room, unable to eat, unable to focus on anything. Other families came and went. She was alone. Thomas had stayed in the States to handle the legal paperwork. The nurses checked on her periodically, bringing her tea she didn't drink. Hour 8, hour 10, hour 12. Finally, at hour 14, Dr. Werner emerged. Maya jumped up, her heart pounding. The surgery was successful, he said, and Maya's legs nearly gave out. We were able to reduce the pressure and repair the damaged areas. Now we wait. He's in recovery. You can see him in about an hour. Maya started crying. She couldn't help it. All the fear, all the stress, everything came pouring out. Thank you, she managed. Thank you so much. Dr. Werner patted her shoulder kindly. You're a devoted wife. He's fortunate to have you. The words stung because they weren't true. She wasn't a devoted wife. She was a stranger who'd signed papers. But over the next weeks, something changed. Maya had taken a leave of absence from work. She couldn't leave Daniel alone in a foreign country. The facility provided her with a small room near his suite, and she fell into a new routine. She'd sit with him for hours, reading, talking, sometimes just sitting in silence. She learned his face, really learned it. The small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his hair curled slightly at his temples. The exact shade of brown his eyes were when she lifted his eyelids to check his pupils, as the nurses had taught her. She went through his belongings that Thomas had sent. His laptop, filled with business plans and charitable projects. His phone with photos of places he'd traveled. His sketchbook, which surprised her. She hadn't known he drew. The sketches were good. Buildings, landscapes, faces of people he'd met. One day, about 3 weeks after the surgery, Maya was reading to him when she felt it. A slight pressure, his hand. He'd squeezed her hand. She gasped, looking at his face. Nothing, no movement. But it had happened. She was sure of it. Daniel, she whispered.
Can you hear me?
Squeeze my hand again if you can hear me. Nothing. But Maya's heart was racing. She called the nurse. The doctors came. They ran tests. Daniel showed increased brain activity. He was starting to respond to stimuli. It was progress. Real progress. Talk to him more, Dr. Werner encouraged. Familiar voices can help guide them back. So Maya talked. She told him about her day. About the view from his window. About the book she was reading. She told him things she'd never told anyone. About her fears. Her dreams. How she'd always felt like she wasn't enough, wasn't special. Wasn't living a big enough life. Your sister used to make me feel small, she admitted one day. Isabella always had everything figured out. Always knew exactly what she wanted. And I was just there, working my shifts, living my small life. She paused. But sitting here with you, I've realized something. Maybe my life isn't small. Maybe being the person who stays, who cares, who shows up. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that matters more than all the fancy things Isabella posts online. Days turned into weeks. Maya celebrated her birthday alone in Switzerland, 29 now. She ate a piece of chocolate cake in the hospital cafeteria and made a wish over an imaginary candle. Please let him wake up. 2 months after the surgery, the doctors were pleased with Daniel's progress but cautious. His brain was healing well. He showed more responses, eye movements, small muscle twitches, but he remained unconscious. Maya was reading to him on a Tuesday afternoon when her phone rang. Isabella. She hadn't spoken to her sister since the day Isabella walked away. Maya stepped into the hallway. Hello? Maya, oh my God, where have you been? Mom said you're on some training program, but that was weeks ago. Are you okay? Maya closed her eyes. I'm fine. What do you need? I saw the news, Daniel, the surgery. It was successful? Isabella's voice was strange. Careful. How did you know about that? One of his friends posted about it. About how he's in Switzerland getting some experimental treatment. A pause. I want to come see him. Maya's stomach dropped. Why? Because I made a mistake, Maya, a huge mistake. I was scared and I ran and I've regretted it every single day. Isabella's voice cracked. I love him. I want him back. Isabella, I'm flying out tomorrow. I found out what facility he's at. I'll see you there. The line went dead. Maya stood in the hallway, feeling like the ground was shifting beneath her feet. Isabella arrived the next day looking like her old self. Perfect makeup. Designer clothes. She swept into the facility like she owned it, then stopped dead when she saw Maya sitting next to Daniel's bed. You're here, Isabella said, surprised. I thought you'd be back at work by now. Someone needs to be with him, Maya said quietly. Isabella's eyes narrowed. What's going on? Before Maya could answer, Thomas walked in. He'd flown in for a meeting with the Swiss doctors. He stopped when he saw Isabella. Ms. Chen, he said formally. Mr. Reed, I'm here to see Daniel. I assume that's allowed. Isabella's tone was sharp. Thomas looked at Maya, then back at Isabella. Actually, there's something you should know. Perhaps we should speak privately. They moved to a conference room. Maya's heart was pounding. This was it. Isabella was about to find out. Thomas laid it out plainly. The trust, the clause, the marriage, everything. Isabella's face went from confusion to shock to fury in the span of seconds. You married him, she hissed at Maya. You married my fiancé? Ex-fiancé, Maya said, finding her voice. You left him, remember? So you just swooped in? Took advantage of him. Married him while he's unconscious? Isabella's voice was rising. Do you have any idea how messed up that is? She saved his life, Thomas interjected, did she? Isabella rounded on him. Or did she see an opportunity? My little sister, who's always been so jealous of me, who never had anything of her own, suddenly gets to be a millionaire's wife. Something inside Maya snapped. You don't get to do this, she said, standing up. Her voice was shaking but firm. You don't get to walk away when things got hard and then waltz back in when it's convenient. I've been here for 2 months. 2 months, Isabella. Sleeping in a hospital room. Sitting by his bed. Reading to him. Talking to him. Making sure he knows someone cares. Where were you? You had no right. Someone had to. Maya's voice cracked. Someone had to make the impossible choice. Someone had to fight for him. And you left. You told me yourself. You said you fell in love with his life, not him. So I did what you couldn't. I fought for the person he is, not what he has. Isabella stared at her, tears streaming down her face. You don't understand what it's like. Watching someone you love like that helpless. You're right, Maya said quietly. I don't, because you're not watching someone you love. I am. The words hung in the air. Maya's hand flew to her mouth, but it was too late. Isabella's expression shifted. Oh my God, you're in love with him. Maya couldn't speak. Couldn't deny it. You're in love with my fiancé, Isabella repeated, something like wonder in her voice now. He's not your fiancé anymore, Maya whispered. He hasn't been for a long time. Isabella sat down slowly. Does he know about any of this? He's in a coma. But when he wakes up, I'm going to divorce him and disappear, Maya said firmly. Because this isn't real. He never chose me. He never even met me, not really. And I won't trap him in a marriage he never agreed to. Thomas cleared his throat. Maya has already prepared divorce papers. They're ready to file the moment Daniel wakes up. Isabella looked between them, processing. Finally, she spoke. I don't know whether to be angry or impressed. Be whatever you want, Maya said tiredly. But if you're going to stay, you need to understand something. Right now, legally, I'm his wife. I make the medical decisions, and I'm not leaving. Not until he wakes up. Isabella studied her sister for a long moment. Then unexpectedly, she nodded. Okay. You're right. I walked away. I don't get to come back and pretend nothing happened. Isabella wiped her eyes. But I want to be here. I want to see him wake up. Can I do that? Maya thought about it, then nodded. Yes, but on my terms. That night, alone in her room, Maya finally let herself admit the truth. She'd fallen in love with Daniel, with the man in the journal entries, with the person she'd gotten to know through his drawings and his dreams and his quiet presence. And when he woke up, she'd have to let him go, because that was the right thing to do, even if it broke her heart. It happened on a Sunday morning, 3 months and 2 days after the accident. Maya was reading to Daniel as she did every day. She'd just started a new chapter when she felt it again, that pressure on her hand. Stronger this time. Much stronger. She looked up. Daniel's eyelids were moving. Actually moving. "Daniel?" Her voice came out as a whisper. "Daniel, can you hear me?" His eyes opened. Just slightly at first, then wider, confused, unfocused, but open. Maya pressed the call button frantically. "I need Dr. Werner. Now he's waking up." The next hour was chaos. Doctors and nurses rushing in. Tests being run. Maya was pushed to the side, watching from the doorway as they examined him. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. Dr. Werner emerged after what felt like forever. He was smiling. He's awake, conscious, responsive. It's remarkable, really. His cognitive functions appear intact. We'll need to do more extensive testing, but initial signs are very, very good. Maya felt tears streaming down her face. "Can I see him?" "Give us a few more minutes." He's disoriented, which is normal. We're explaining where he is and what happened. When they finally let her in, Daniel was propped up slightly in bed. He looked exhausted and confused, but his eyes were clear, alert. He turned his head when she entered. "You're Maya," he said. His voice was rough from lack of use, but hearing it made Maya's breath catch. "Yes, I'm Maya. They told me." He stopped, seeming to gather his thoughts. "They told me I've been unconscious for 3 months. That I had surgery. That I almost died." Maya nodded, moving closer but keeping her distance. "That's right. They also told me something else. Something I don't understand." He looked at her directly. "They said you're my wife," the word hung between them. Maya had prepared for this moment, rehearsed what she'd say. But now, with him actually awake, actually looking at her, all her prepared words disappeared. "It's complicated," she managed. "I'm sure it is." Daniel's voice wasn't angry, just tired, confused. "Can you sit, please? This is a lot." Maya sat in the chair she'd occupied for months. The same chair, but everything was different now. "Start from the beginning," Daniel said. "Please." So she did. She told him about the accident, about Isabella leaving, about the trust fund and the impossible clause, about the choice she'd had to make. "I married you to save your life," she said finally. "That's the truth. I have divorce papers ready. Thomas has them. The moment you're well enough, we can end this. I don't want anything from you. I just wanted you to have a chance to live." Daniel listened to all of it without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Where's Isabella now?" he asked finally. "She came back a few weeks ago. She's staying at a hotel nearby. I can call her if you want to see her. Later, maybe." He rubbed his face. "This is insane. All of it, I know. I'm sorry. Don't apologize." He looked at her again, studying her face. "The nurses told me you've been here every day, that you read to me, talked to me." Maya felt her cheeks flush. "Someone needed to be here. Why you? You barely knew me." It was a fair question. Maya had asked herself the same thing 1,000 times. "At first, because Isabella was my sister and you were in trouble. But then," she paused, "I read your journal. Your drawings. I got to know you, I guess. The real you. And I couldn't just walk away." Daniel was quiet again. "Then what did you learn about me? That you're not who I thought you were. You're not just some tech millionaire. You care about things. Real things. You want to build schools. You want to make a difference. You draw beautiful pictures. You read poetry." She smiled slightly. "You're kind of a secret nerd, actually." He laughed, then winced. "Don't make me laugh. Everything hurts, sorry." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Daniel said, "Can I see the divorce papers?" Maya's heart sank, but she nodded. Of course he'd want this over with quickly. She pulled them from her bag where she'd kept them for weeks, handed them to him. Daniel looked through them slowly. His expression was unreadable. "These papers say you get nothing. No money, no assets, nothing." "That's right, why?" "Because I didn't marry you for money. I married you to save your life." "There's a difference." Daniel set the papers down. "I'm not signing these." "Not yet," Maya's head snapped up. What? Why not? Because I need time to process all of this. I've been unconscious for 3 months. I wake up married to someone I've never had a conversation with. My whole life is different now. He looked tired. I'm not making major decisions until I understand what happened. Really understand. But you waited 3 months for me to wake up. I'm asking you to wait a little longer, please. Maya didn't know what to say. She'd been so certain he'd want out immediately. How long? I don't know. A few weeks? I need to recover. To get my strength back. To figure out who I am now. He paused. Is that okay? What could she say? Of course. Whatever you need. Over the next 2 weeks, Daniel recovered quickly. Physical therapy, cognitive tests. Everything came back positive. His brain had healed remarkably well. Dr. Werner called it a miracle, and during those weeks something unexpected happened. Daniel and Maya actually got to know each other while he was conscious. He asked her about her work, about nursing, why she chose it, what she loved about it. She told him about the satisfaction of helping people, of making a difference in small ways. She asked him about his business, about his dreams. He told her about the projects he wanted to launch, the communities he wanted to help, the things that really mattered to him. They discovered they both loved old movies, both preferred coffee over tea, both found social media exhausting. They made each other laugh, real laughter that felt easy and natural. Isabella visited a few times. The meetings were awkward and brief. Daniel was polite to her but distant. She'd cry and apologize and he'd accept her apologies, but Maya could see it. Whatever they'd had was gone. One evening, Maya was helping Daniel walk down the hallway. He was getting stronger every day. They stopped by a window overlooking the mountains. Can I ask you something? Daniel said. Of course, why did you really stay? The real reason. Maya thought about lying, about keeping it safe, but he deserved the truth. Because I fell in love with you, she said quietly, with the person in those journal entries, with the man who wanted to make the world better. I know that's crazy. I know you don't feel the same, but that's the truth. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, that is crazy. Maya felt her heart break a little. I know. But it's also the most honest thing anyone's ever said to me. He turned to face her. Isabella loved the life I could give her. My friends love what I can do for them. But you loved me when I couldn't do anything at all. When I was just there. That's different. I should go, Maya said, feeling tears threatening. Wait. Daniel caught her hand. I'm not done. I've been thinking a lot these past weeks. About what you did. About the choice you made. About how insane and selfless and completely ridiculous it was. Daniel, I'm not who I was before the accident. That person feels like someone else. Someone I don't know anymore. He squeezed her hand. But this person, the one I am now, wants to know you. Really know you. Not as the person who saved me. As Maya, as yourself. Maya looked up at him confused. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm not signing those divorce papers. Not because I want your money or don't want to end this, but because I want to see where this goes. I want to date my wife. Get to know her. See if what we have is real. This is crazy, Maya whispered. You married a man in a coma to save his life. I think we're past worrying about crazy. He smiled. What do you say? Want to start over? Properly this time? Maya's mind was racing. This wasn't what she'd planned. She was supposed to divorce him and disappear. Go back to her normal life. But looking at Daniel, seeing the hope in his eyes, feeling his hand in hers, she realized something. She didn't want normal anymore. Yes, she said. Yes, I want to try. Daniel smiled, and it was like the sun coming out. Good, because I have a feeling I'm going to fall for you too. I'm already halfway there. That night, Maya called her mother to tell her she wasn't coming home yet, that she needed more time. Her mother asked why, and Maya realized she couldn't hide anymore. I got married, Mom. There was a long silence. Then to who? It's a long story, but I think you're going to need to sit down for this. As Maya explained everything, she realized her life had become something she never could have imagined. She'd married a stranger to save his life. And somehow, impossibly, they were giving each other a second chance at something real. But in the back of her mind, she wondered, could a relationship that started this way ever be normal? And what would happen when they left Switzerland and returned to the real world? Those questions would have to wait. For now, for the first time in months, Maya allowed herself to hope. 6 weeks after Daniel woke up, they returned home. Maya thought leaving Switzerland would be the easy part. She was wrong. The moment they landed, reality hit like a brick wall. Somehow the story had leaked. Not the full truth, but bits and pieces twisted into something ugly. Social media was on fire with it. Nurse marries Coma. Patient's fortune. Sister steals millionaire from. Sibling. Gold digger preys on. Unconscious man. Maya saw the headlines on her phone and felt sick. Daniel saw them too and immediately tried to shield her. "Don't read that garbage," he said. "It's not true. We know the truth, but the damage was spreading." By the next day, reporters were camped outside Maya's apartment. Her hospital was getting calls. Her mother was crying on the phone asking what was happening. Maya went back to work, trying to pretend everything was normal. But her coworkers looked at her differently. Some with pity, some with judgment. One nurse she'd worked with for 3 years actually asked if it was true she'd married Daniel for money. "You don't know me at all if you have to ask that," Maya said quietly, and walked away. That night, Daniel came to her apartment. He'd been staying at his penthouse, giving her space, but they'd been spending most evenings together, learning each other, building something real. But tonight, Maya couldn't do it anymore. "This isn't working," she said as soon as he walked in. Daniel froze. "What do you mean?" "This, us, all of it." Maya gestured around helplessly. "Look at what's happening. My life is falling apart. People think I'm some kind of predator. My own coworkers don't trust me, and it's only going to get worse. So we tell them the truth, all of it." "And you think that'll make it better?" Maya laughed, but it was bitter. "Oh great, I didn't marry you for money. I just married you while you were unconscious and couldn't consent." "That sounds so much better. You saved my life. I crossed a line, a huge line, and now I'm paying for it." She felt tears starting. Maybe everyone's right. Maybe I messed up for doing what I did. "Maya, sign the papers, Daniel, please. Let's end this before it gets worse. You can go back to your life. I'll figure out mine. We tried. It didn't work." Daniel stood there, his face a mix of hurt and determination. "Is that what you really want?" Maya thought about saying yes, thought about pushing him away before this hurt even more. But she couldn't lie to him. "No," she whispered. "But I don't know what else to do. I can't watch you get dragged down because of me." Daniel stepped closer. "Then don't. Let me fight for us instead." "How? How do you fight this?" "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out." He took her hands. "Just don't give up, not yet. Give me a few days, please." Maya wanted to say no, wanted to end it cleanly, but looking into his eyes, she couldn't do it. "A few days," she agreed. "But Daniel, if this doesn't get better, it will. Trust me." He left and Maya sank onto her couch exhausted. She didn't know what he could possibly do to fix this mess. 3 days later, Maya got a text from Daniel. "Turn on Channel 7, please." She grabbed her remote, confused. Channel 7 was a local news station. Why would she? And then she saw him. Daniel was on live television, sitting across from a reporter. A real interview. "Mr. Brooks, thank you for joining us," the reporter said. "There's been a lot of speculation about your recent marriage. Can you set the record straight?" "Yes, that's why I'm here." Daniel looked directly at the camera. "The rumors about my wife Maya are wrong. All of them. And I want to tell you what really happened." Maya's hand went to her mouth. "He was doing it. He was actually doing it." Daniel told the whole story. The accident, the coma, the trust fund clause, the impossible choice Maya had to make. "She married me to save my life," he said clearly. "Not for money. Not for fame. Not for anything except to give me a chance to survive. And she spent 3 months sitting by my hospital bed taking care of me, with no guarantee I'd ever wake up." The reporter looked stunned. "That's quite a story. It's the truth. Maya gave up her job, her life, everything to make sure I had a chance. She had divorce papers ready the day I woke up. She was going to walk away with nothing." Daniel's voice got stronger, but I asked her not to. Because in those first conversations we had, I realized something. This woman who barely knew me cared more about who I was as a person than anyone in my life ever had. "What about the accusations that she took advantage of you?" "Took advantage?" Daniel actually laughed. "She saved my life at great personal cost to herself. She's been harassed and judged for doing the right thing. The only people who took advantage of me are the ones making up lies about her." Maya was crying now, watching him defend her on live television. So you're saying this is a real marriage? The reporter asked. I'm saying I fell in love with my wife after I woke up. I fell in love with the woman who stayed when everyone else left. And I'm asking everyone to leave her alone. She's a hero, not a villain. The interview went viral within hours. Suddenly the narrative shifted. People who'd judged Maya started apologizing. Her hospital released a statement supporting her. Her co-workers texted apologies. But the most important call came from Isabella. Can we meet? Her sister asked. Please? I need to talk to you. They met at a quiet coffee shop. Isabella looked different. Less polished. More real. I owe you an apology, Isabella said immediately. A real one. Not just for leaving Daniel. For everything. For making you feel small your whole life. For judging you. For not seeing what an amazing person you are. Maya didn't know what to say. I saw Daniel's interview, Isabella continued, and I realized something. You didn't steal him from me. I never really had him. I had an idea of him. A fantasy. But you saw the real person. You loved the real person. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry, Maya, for everything. Maya reached across the table and took her sister's hand. I forgive you. They talked for 2 hours. Really talked. Maybe for the first time in their lives. When Maya got home, Daniel was waiting outside her apartment. Did you see the interview? He asked nervously. The whole world saw the interview. Maya smiled through tears. That was insane. And brave. And completely crazy. Did it help? It helped. But Daniel, you didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. You fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. It was my turn. He stepped closer. I meant what I said. I love you, Maya. Not because you saved my life. Not because I feel obligated. But because you're kind and brave and you see people for who they really are. You saw me. Maya felt her last walls crumbling. I love you too. I have for months. Then marry me, Daniel said. We're already married, I know. But we did it wrong the first time. I want to do it right. I want to stand in front of everyone and choose you. Consciously, completely, I want you to choose me back. Maya laughed and cried at the same time. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Is that a yes? Yes, that's a yes. The second wedding happened 2 months later. Small and simple. Maya's family. Daniel's close friends. The nurses from Switzerland who'd cared for Daniel. Dr. Werner flew in for it. Isabella was there too, genuinely happy for them. Maya wore a simple white dress this time. Because it wasn't a lie anymore. It was real. When Daniel saw her walking toward him, he started crying. Maya had never seen him cry before. You look beautiful, he said when she reached him. You're supposed to wait until after the vows to cry, she teased. I can't help it. I'm marrying the woman who saved my life. The woman I love. The woman who's going to put up with me for the rest of our lives. The ceremony was short and perfect. When the officiant asked if they took each other, they both said I do like they meant it. Because they did. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the officiant said. Again. Everyone laughed. Daniel kissed Maya and it felt like everything finally made sense. The impossible choice. The 3 months of waiting. The judgment and the doubt. It all led to this moment. Thank you, Daniel whispered against her lips. For what? For not giving up on me. For not giving up on us, Maya smiled. I never could have walked away. Not really. You were always worth fighting for. Later, at the reception, Maya's mother pulled her aside. I'm proud of you, she said. Not for marrying a millionaire, but for being brave enough to do the right thing, even when it was hard. Even when people judged you. You've always had the biggest heart, Maya. I'm glad Daniel sees it too. That night, lying next to Daniel in what was now their home together, Maya thought about everything that had happened. How a normal life had become something extraordinary. How a choice made in desperation had led to real love. What are you thinking about? Daniel asked sleepily. How none of this should have worked. How it was crazy and impossible and completely insane. But somehow it did work. Somehow we found each other in the middle of all that chaos. Daniel pulled her closer. You know what I think? What? I think the best things in life are the ones you never see coming. The ones that seem impossible until they're real. Maya smiled in the darkness. You might be right. I usually am, he said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. They fell asleep like that. 2 people who'd found love in the most unexpected place. And Maya realized that sometimes the craziest decisions lead to the most beautiful outcomes. She'd married a stranger to save his life, and somehow impossibly she'd found her forever.